Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm not happy. I am pissed off and disgusted with the president of baseball ops, Dave Dombrowski. I never thought in a million years he would put us through this crap. But what he had to say with the WIP morning show was so disrespectful to the fan base, so disrespectful to the hard-paying customers, the people who put the money in the pockets of John Middleton. He's out here acting as if we're dumb. He's acting as if we don't see through the BS. Now, part of this show, I'm trying to figure out if I'm overreacting or not, but I don't think I am. I've spent countless hours doing Phillies positivity shows on the radio. And not because I felt positive, but I was trying to get there. So, I would say, here's the phone number. Tell me why this team is going to be good. Because I'm tired of feeling this way. I don't want to head into the year with this nasty taste in my mouth. When you wake up, you haven't brushed your teeth yet, and you go, ew! I don't want to feel that way heading into this season. So tell me why they're good. And you'd get the rotation is strong. You added Luzardo. If they can get hot at the right time. Well, that's a big if. They haven't been able to. You're starting to sound like Dave. Hey, the Dodgers lost a few years ago. Now look at them. Come on, Dave. Really? You mean the team that's willing to sign every Japanese pitcher? You mean the team that actually has superstars who are willing to change positions for what's best for the team? The squad that's always adding 24/7 nonstop, always getting better. Look at this outfield. This outfield is hot garbage. What's not hot garbage is my friends over at Green Lawn Fertilizing. If you're stressing about your lawn this spring, my great friends at Green Lawn Fertilizing can help. They are based in the Philadelphia area, and they are the best in market. Experts in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and extremely knowledgeable. They've created their own custom blend that will have your lawn recovering from the drought that occurred last year. It's unreal. It's unreal. My lawn is looking more beautiful than any most beautiful looking thing you've ever seen in your entire life. I promise you that. The first round is super important to lay the groundwork for the rest of the season. So, Green Lawn Fertilizing wants people starting now, and they are offering this incredible deal. 2 free treatments and 10% off for the early birds. So, they officially started treating lawns this most recent Monday. So, for them, spring is here. Make sure you check out the link in the description, which will take you right to their website. Through my link, it'll tell them Brodes sent you. It's family. I promise you. You go through the process with Green Lawn Fertilizing, and you become one big family, and there's nothing better than that. So make sure you check out the link down below. All right, why don't we listen to Dave Dombrowski? Here's Dave Dombrowski.
And sometimes it's just...
I wanted to actually tease you on what it was. Here's Dave Dombrowski talking about the plate discipline last year in the playoffs.
And sometimes it's just you're hot at that particular moment. Guys are swinging the bat at that particular time, and other times there's not. And I mean, you can talk about plate discipline, and I know that everybody talks that about, and you always try to increase that and be a little bit better. But the reality is, it was interesting last year. We went into it at the time, and in the playoffs, our plate discipline was in the middle of the pack versus playoff clubs.
Come on, man. That's insane. The more and more I hear it, it actually ticks me off. It really does. Ticks me off more. We watch the games. Didn't we all sit there and watch that vomit of the plate discipline? Oh, it's not that bad. We're just doing whatever First off, acting as if being in middle of the league is good, being middle of the league is not good enough, right? Let's start there. It wasn't good enough, obviously. But if you're focusing on being in the middle of the pack, then you suck. Then you're not winning a championship. Then you're not doing good enough. Then you have to go back to the drawing board. Then why is the hitting coach still here? Because middle of the pack, that means you're average. That means you're satisfied with being average. And they brought back the entire same staff, the same coaching staff. That's problem number one. Problem number two, come on, dude. I'll never forget watching that Dodgers-Mets series in the NLCS right after the Phillies-Mets in the DS. And the broadcast couldn't believe their eyes, seeing the difference between the way the Dodgers weren't chasing pitches and then staring at what happened with Nick, what happened with Trey, what happened with all these guys. Dodgers are walking. Dodgers are getting on base. Dodgers are making the Mets pitching staff work. Guys, Sean Manaea is pitching 7 strong against you. Sean Manaea? Who the fuck is Sean Manaea? I know who he is, but I'm saying this isn't Zach Wheeler. This isn't Verlander in his prime. Sean Manaea? What are we doing? And the way he said, I know people are talking about plate discipline as if it's being mocked, as if we're wrong to do so, as if that's not where we should focus our attention. Dave, if you're not focusing your organizational philosophy around the lack of discipline, then we're toast before the season even begins. And that's the honest truth. So I'm starting to get fed up. All those positivity shows that I tried, it's kind of out the window. And this makes me feel worse. This feels like an extension of those god-awful press conferences at the end of the year when their season ended. And the more and more I'm starting to think about what's going on here, you know, Dave was also asked about potentially trying to trade Bohm and potentially trying to make a move this offseason that's a bigger splash. Actually, I believe the question was raised like this from Joe DeCamera, who I thought asked the very good questions. It was, are you surprised that you're essentially running back a very similar everyday player roster outside of Max Kepler? And he said, well, we were open-minded. And when you're open-minded, phone calls are made and things are discussed, but we never really got something that was offered to us that we felt acceptable. Blah, 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 blah. Then started going through the GM speak. Here's where I'm aggravated by this, though. Dave. Dave. I think he realized he couldn't get rid of Bohm. He realized he tried to make big moves and couldn't make it happen. He's stuck with the Nick Castellanos contract. He's stuck with some things. So the only way, now that you backed yourself into a corner with an awful Trey Turner contract, is you have to go heavy with the starting rotation and pray that can counterbalance the flaws within your lineup. Now, I don't know if the answer is yes or no. Luzardo's allowing 3 bombs and 3 pitches in spring training. It's just spring training. They're working on things, blah, blah, blah. I heard it all. But this is such a terrible feeling. This isn't fun. This isn't fun for me. I had a couple DMs when I was on the air talking about this, and it's like, come on, man, you can't really feel this way, right? Look at what this team did last year. They won 90-plus games. They won the division. You can't honestly feel this way, can you? Yes. Yes. How can I not? Do you hear the tone of the leaders? Trey Turner also hasn't had a hit yet. This is the guy where, honestly, the season almost comes down to what version of Trey Turner we get. Just like Bohm's emotions weighs down on the team when he's all pouting, same applies to Trey. This team goes the way Trey goes because the expectations were high. $300 million man, superstar shortstop. Truth is, he hasn't lived up to those expectations a lick. And it drains this team. And this guy can't even get a hit in spring training. And talking more about Trey, this is super quick. I may play it twice so you can have time to absorb it. It's 6 seconds long, but it speaks to the inability to adjust, the inability to actually focus on improving. This is the same guy that said he didn't watch film this offseason late in the playoffs. He didn't go back to any of those at-bats. He didn't look at any of the things that were awful from his game. He didn't look at it to get better. This is the same guy. I'm going to play it twice. This is Trey on what went wrong last year and potentially moving to leadoff, but his approach at the plate. Here's Trey.
Last couple of years, I'm trying to drive the ball a little bit more. And not that I won't do that if I do lead off, but
again,
last couple of years, I'm trying to, drive the ball a little bit more. And not that I won't do that if I do lead off, but
okay. What went wrong over the last 3 years? I've been trying to drive the ball a little bit too much. Oh, by the way, if I lead off, I'm still going to try and drive the ball. That's how I take that. That's how I interpret it. To be very clear, I'm acknowledging this, that the Phillies currently, they're that person that you can't stand and everything they say just pisses you off. Even if it's not that terrible, and I'm not saying this isn't that terrible. I think it is that terrible. But we all have that one person in their life, that one person at work, that one person you see at the gym, whatever it is. Their presence makes your skin crawl. Their presence just bothers you because you think they're absolutely dumb. Okay? Now, I don't think Trey's absolutely dumb. I'm not saying that. I'm just using that personal experience that we can all relate to as an example. That's the Phillies organization for me right now. Every little thing they do, it sets a fire off in my gut. I was trying to drive the ball too much. I'm still going to try and drive the ball, though. Maybe you should go watch film. I'm just spitballing. Maybe you should actually spend time to see where things were going wrong and how you can do it differently so it doesn't happen again. So you don't find yourself in the same predicaments. This is why it's valuable to go watch previous at-bats, to see what you were doing when you were chasing, to see why you were chasing. But who am I to judge? And this is the guy that's going to be leading off. At least it seems that way. I don't know for how long. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe after 40, 50 games, when they give this puppy a good sample size, they got to go back to old reliable, which is putting Kyle Schwarber up at the top. And once you go to Kyle Schwarber back at the top, it's pretty much dead from there. You're not doing any more changes. So maybe if Bryson Stott could actually, bounce back from last year, which I believe that's going to happen. You want positivity hour? I believe in Stotty. I believe in a healthy Bryson Stott. There's some positivity for you. So if Trey stinks and then you want to change the top of the order, you'd have to slot in Stott if you want to give that an attempt prior to going to Schwarbs, because once you go to 12, then it's all she wrote. And speaking of 12, is he going to get an extension? I'm willing to give Kyle Schwarber an extension, not JT. It would be organizational malpractice to give JT Realmuto an extension at his age when you're already contemplating if he should be playing a different position than catcher. It was brought to my attention that some fans would be okay with it if the money was so low that you're just paying for a savvy vet behind the plate that isn't getting paid too much. What's wrong with the 35-year-old who bats 7th in your lineup if the money isn't that big and doesn't stop you from other decisions? And I get that. I do. It's not like I don't understand the logic in that. Here's why I would still say no. I was begging for it this season. I don't want to continue to run it back with the same group. I'd be banging my head against the wall. I just need new faces. I need new blood. I need new life. If this doesn't work, you're telling me it's going to work as these players get older? It doesn't work when they're 30, 31, 32. Yet, hey, when Trey Turner's getting older, he can't do it when he's in his prime. But let's get 3 years older of Trey, 3 years older of all these Nick, although Nick wouldn't be here at that time. Kyle, I think Kyle translates to an older hitter because he's just a pure hitter. Right, he's just a DH with a big bat, and those home run boppers, they are sustainable. So Kyle's presence, I think, is sustainable, not anybody else. The only way you could sell me a JT extension, which kind of makes me sick to even acknowledge, but if there is a world where it happens, I need a lot of people gone. It can't be Bohm here. It can't be Trey playing shortstop. He's got to be in center field, and then you sign a real shortstop. Maybe you get Vlad Guerrero playing first. Bryce moves to the outfield. Nick is gone. So then JT is a Yadier Molina type where he's just old, veteran, behind the plate, but there's so much new around him that, you can get by with that method. I don't think I'd like it. But I'm saying if there was a world where I could understand it happening, that's the world. Now, I don't understand if there's a world out there where you're not drinking garage beer, because that means you're sick in the head. DrinkGarageBeer.com. It's the best beer on planet Earth. Don't worry about that IPA taste. 0% IPA, 100% light beer, 1,000% quality. DrinkGarageBeer.com. You're going to need a lot of it watching this Phillies baseball team because they're going to make you nauseous and they're going to make your eyes bleed. So the only way to make it better is by drinking an outstanding, outstanding beer. Now, I want to give you the lineup that was this Wednesday or Thursday afternoon? This was the lineup that seems to be a potential real one. One that Rob Thomson is willing to go to war with. Trey Turner batting leadoff. Bryce Harper batting second. Alec Bohm batting third. Kyle Schwarber batting fourth. Nick batting fifth. As a top five, I get it. It's not irrational. Would that be my selection? No. That's not what I would do, but I get it. I would do, and this is what I would do, but also understanding they want Trey to bat up top. Because I wouldn't bat Trey in the top four if I could really, really choose. But with knowing their philosophy, how I would approach this is Bryce batting leadoff, Trey batting second, Kyle batting third, Nick batting fourth, Bohm batting fifth. That's what I would do. But I get this, okay? I understand it. If this is something that they apply in the early stages of the season to see if they can establish some identity, I'm cool with it. They got Max Kepler batting sixth, which is pretty high for him, even though he's got a pretty decent OPS to start spring. JT batting seventh, Stott batting eighth, Marsh batting ninth. Maybe there's something to it. But that seems to be where they're at. All right, speaking of the lineup, let's take a listen to Rob Thomson on with the WIP Morning Show about leading off and Trey leading off.
We heard Trey Turner talk on the afternoon show about how he's excited about the opportunity to lead off. Will we see him at the top of the lineup?
Well, you will today.
All right. Nice.
I don't know.
Rob Thomson getting ready for his career in professional politics.
Yeah, that was a great answer right there. Well done, sir.
Well, we're still tinkering with it, and I don't know where we're going to end up. One of the thoughts behind leading Trey off is that maybe it changes his approach a little bit, and he thinks about getting on base a little bit more.
Well, he did just tell us he was going to try and continue to drive the baseball, Rob. Think about that. Think about how these two are on completely opposite extremes right now. But continue, Rob.
because he's going to hit 20, 25 home runs just falling out of bed. The other part of it is if you have Schwarber behind Harp, does that help Harp out a little bit? But at the same time, I don't want to overthink it. We've had a lot of success with the way we've done it in the last couple of years. So, spring training's a good time to just try different things and
All right, hear me out. I could be overthinking this. I could be overreacting. You think they should know by now? I know the lineup in theory is very, what do they say, fluid. It could be moving, it could be constantly changed and all, even though there's times where Rob Thomson has been firm and put his boots in the mud and didn't change at all. Is it strange to you? I don't want to overthink. I mean, this type of stuff should have been thought out and processed a long-ass time ago. Unless he's just giving us manager speak and he's talking you through it. But I don't know if he's really talking us through his mind process. I think he's still going through the process. But don't you think that that's something that you establish in the offseason when you're going through heartbreak, when you're losing to the Diamondbacks in the NLCS, when you lose to a division rival in the NLDS, and your main goal and objective is we have to get over the hump? You would be so dedicated and it would be eating you alive so much that you have months and months and months to prepare for what you're going to do to change. And considering you didn't do much on the field with your personnel and your roster, the only way you can get a real facelift is by the design of your order, and you still don't know, and you're still worried about overthinking it, and you don't have the answers yet. And I don't know, that's a little bizarre to me. I'm going to once again make sure you know that I'm aware that this team right now can do no right. That's where I'm at. So am I nitpicking? Am I reaching? Am I going too far into it? Am I diving too deep into what they're actually saying and they're just giving you kind of answers on the radio for a spring training interview? Maybe. The last thing I'm going to do is say no. But I don't believe in what they're selling us. I don't believe in what they're selling us. And there was a time where I didn't believe what the Eagles were selling us through 4 weeks. And then they turned it around. So by no means am I saying it's impossible. But I don't know if this group has a Jalen Hurts. I don't know if this group has a Lane Johnson. I don't know if this group has a Mailata. I don't know if this group has a Saquon Barkley. And if they do, they don't have enough of them. Like, I think Kyle fits that mold. I think Bryce fits that mold. So maybe that's a little harsh. But I don't know if they have the right puzzle pieces as a full-on team, where the puzzle pieces just don't fit. Where you can have good leaders, but Bohm's emotions are not fixable, obviously, and they can't even trade them. That type of skill level can't get moved. There's something to that. That's something I can't shake, is when a player of that caliber, with that type of bat, the ability to smoke those doubles, protecting Bryce Harper, knocking in all those runs, and he can't get moved if a team is trying to trade him, that's damning. That's telling. It's probably sounding off the alarms that someone like Dave Dombrowski would be even open-minded to moving him. Probably sets off the alarms to begin with on why you would even do that, which would give teams fear of putting 2 feet in. But still, there's some bad GMs out there, bad teams, bad organizations. And I don't even think it's a bad thing to take a flyer on him, depending on where your current roster and franchise is. Like, there's teams that could take a chance on a Bohm and work through some of the flaws in the mental side of the game because you don't have anything else and his skill level is high enough where it's worth it. What do you got to lose? So, I don't think they have. BG was another one. Think about all those names. I gave you Bryce and Kyle. Wheels, but starting pitching's different than the everyday guys. But you got one starter and 2 every day, guys. Nah. It's not enough. So I got this DM on Instagram about, let me see exactly what team he referenced. He referenced the Celtics. This is Nick, and I appreciate you reaching out, Nick. He says, Celtics got close a few times, and they had some disappointing finishes to their playoff runs, but then they eventually got there. Do you think there's anything to this sort of example? He went on to say a couple other things and whatnot, but that's sort of the meat and potatoes of it. Here's the difference. Those players were ascending, right? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Most players do lose before they win. That's not ridiculous to think about. You don't just walk into the league and then year one, unless you're Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, but you don't just walk into the league and just win a championship, especially in the NBA. You know, you're 20 years old. You got to learn how to play against the big, strong men in the NBA, the physicality, the toughness, the half-court sets and playoff ball. It's a different animal. And the physicality isn't the same in the sport of baseball. The pitching and the film study, which I don't know if Trey does, and you know, how these pitchers are willing to watch the film to attack certain hitters and their tendencies, all that amplifies without a doubt. So that's their version of the game intensifying in October. But the difference is these guys are all going downhill, right? JT's not the same. Trey is not even close to whatever we thought he was. Nick's fine. Fine. I like Kyle. I like Bryce. But again, it's not enough. Brandon Marsh isn't ascending. He's just there. They have to platoon that. Stott, I think, can ascend. But that's about it. Are these guys ascending? It's not the young 20. If you had a team filled with Bohms and Stott. By the way, Bohm and Stott, they're not 20 years old anymore, guys. We call them the daycare. They're almost 30. Bohm's almost 30. Bohm. Almost 30 years old. They're not young anymore. How old is Stotty? I think Stott's a little younger, no? He's 27. Okay. Still, this should be prime. This should be, my point is, if Bohm, Stott, the rest of the teams, if they were 23, 24, 25 over the last couple of years, and you go, wait until this team hits that 27, 28 range, we'll be good to go, but you felt really good about it. They were showing signs of NLDS, NLCS, World Series loss, and now it's time to finish the job. You're showing me that each year you're taking a step in the right direction. You're taking a step further. But instead it's players are getting older. Players are getting into more of a decline. And Trey Turner still stinks. And you're going from World Series loss to NLCS heartbreak to DS. And we'll see if they even get to the wild card this year. Because I don't want to speak this into existence, but just hear me out. This is going to be an extremely competitive NL East. I could see a world where the Braves are healthier, although Sean Murphy's out for 4 to 6 weeks with cracked ribs. Spencer Strider is still recovering from last year, and same with Ronald Acuna Jr. So maybe a difficult time to bring that up. But let's just say they are better than what they were last year. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt based off of their success as a franchise, right? The Mets are coming. The Mets signed Juan Soto. So what if it's Braves, Mets, Phillies? You know the Dodgers are winning their division. What about the Padres? What about the D-backs? Is there a world, even though there's a lot more teams getting added to the playoff runs with the new format, where they finish third in their division and then it's a toss-up on if they actually do get in or not? I can't rule it out, especially if they're not caring about a hot start anymore. They didn't care this offseason, it seemed, about attacking with the hot start because they did that last year. They had a nice start, and then they ran out of gas by the end of the year. So now they're going to ho-hum their way through and just get to the finish line. And then we'll see what happens when they get to the finish line because, as Dave Dombrowski says, it's just about timing. It's just about luck. Your timing needs to be in October. So nothing matters. And you just have to hope and pray that when October comes around, you're not cold. That's the difference in winning and losing. You just need to be lucky. There's nothing wrong with how we approach at the plate. There's nothing wrong with our plate discipline. We're in the middle of the pack, as it was talked about. I can't get that through my mind. That's what our president of baseball ops is saying. And it's Dave Dombrowski. I just thought Dave Dombrowski was better than this. The talk was he is so aggressive that he drains your entire organization. And when he leaves, you don't have much left, but you win a World Series like you did with the Boston Red Sox. You can be a Miami Marlins team with the World Series championship. He got super close with Detroit. He didn't win it. And I guess that's sort of what's going on here. But to do it in Detroit is a different beast than to do it here in Philly with John Middleton and his dough and his willingness to win. So it's not apples to apples. But I didn't expect it from someone with the resume of Dave Dombrowski. Unless he's trying to change that narrative that, hey, I'm not just someone who sucks the life out of an organization from top to bottom with AAA and with AA. Now he's so focused on building the system that he forgot about the big club. He forgot about the actual goal in mind. He forgot about what this is all about, and that's winning a trophy. Hey, don't worry, we got Justin Crawford. Listen, shove Justin Crawford up the rear end. I won a World Series trophy. Hey, we got Aiden Miller. Okay, well, I better see Justin Crawford and Aiden Miller win me a championship. But guess what? There's a world where I can get a championship now, and I can get a championship with Justin Crawford and Aiden Miller in years to come. How about you tell Trey Turner to kick ass and go play center field? Kick rocks, I should say. You're playing like ass. Remember when he went back and forth with a reporter about the defensive metrics of Trey Turner? And it was brought up that Trey's not really playing a good shortstop. And, well, those defensive metrics, and I'm paraphrasing, but those defensive metrics. No. Dave, we have eyeballs. Stop looking down upon us. Stop looking down at us as if we don't see. Trey Turner sucks at shortstop. There's really no argument. There's no debate. Trey Turner sucks at shortstop. That's the truth. And until you admit that and realize there's a problem, it's going to affect this team negatively. Over 162. And I don't want to hear it when he makes one good play. Yeah, he's going to have a good play or two. How about these fundamental ones that he screws up nonstop? And it's not as if, because I got into an argument about how much Rhys Hoskins couldn't defend. Yeah, but Rhys Hoskins was never built to defend. Rhys Hoskins, big body, kind of goofy, awkward. He's a power hitter. Trey Turner's a string bean. All right, Trey Turner is this skinny whatever, who should be able to move and put his glove on the dirt so the ball doesn't go through his legs. He's built to be a good defender. He sucks at shortstop. And someone has to have the balls to tell him, your contract was to be a Philly. Your contract wasn't to be a shortstop. Go play center field. Go play center field. Crazy, man. All right, here is Rob Thomson. This is where we will kind of wrap things up. Rob Thomson on where Bryce would hit if Trey Turner leads off.
If Trey leads off, would Bryce Harper be the two-hole hitter?
Yes.
Has to be, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How much? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Rob Thompson with us here on WIP. Rob, let's talk about some other configuration issues. So one of the things that's come up a lot in the offseason is a lot of conversation on our show of if players are moved to different positions, it could open up more possibilities for Dave Dombrowski. Bryce Harper back to the outfield, Trey Turner to center field, things of that nature. When it comes to who plays where, is your style more that you ask them where they want to play, or in the end you tell them where they will play?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a conversation, but I have the final say on who's going to play where. And, you know, the whole Harper thing came up. I think basically what he was saying was he'll play anywhere we want him to play.
Now, that's in reference to Bryce stating he'd play outfield again. I think that's a tactic. I think that's a tactic between him and Scott Boras to get that extension that he's looking for and been asking for years to come. So I think they're playing the leverage game. I'll move out to outfield. Go get Vlad Guerrero Jr., though. That's something I would like to see. But that's for another day. That discussion's for another day. I think Rob Thomson is talking about Bryce there, moving to the outfield and whatnot, and I think it's funny. It was all inferred in my eyes about Trey Turner. Get him at a shortstop. But it flipped to Bryce recently making comments about being willing to move to the outfield again, and I think that's a tactic. So that's where we're at as a franchise. Go Phils! Woohoo! Couple weeks away. Talk to you on the next one.